All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Assemble. My name's High Ruler, and today is episode number 5. Am I correct on that, Stardust?
I think so.
Number 5 of your Avengers Weekly recap. And once again, as always, joined here by Stardust. Stardust, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
Good. Well, you could say that. Had a crazy morning at work. For anyone who doesn't know, I work at a sports facility, and it's a tale of two worlds that I exist in. One, I come on and I talk video games and I make videos, and in my other world, I clean up puke, and not for the faint of heart, let me tell you. And I did that this morning, so that was fun. But yeah, so guys, today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to do quite a few topics. The Devstream, Hawkeye, predictions for Thursday. We have some concept art here that I'm going to throw up, some Q&As. I think that's it. I think that's pretty much everything. It's been a pretty busy week, Stardust. What do you think about this week so far?
It has been so busy, as you said. There's been a lot going on. Avengers just seems to be pulling it out of the bag with all this information lately, And even on days where it seems quiet, they'll bust out a cheeky little Twitter post with a costume or something. I think all of a sudden their marketing team and their community team or whatever has just decided to go, oh shit, yeah, we have a lot to say. All right. And all of a sudden they've pressed the button and they've let them all out the basement to start going crazy online. So.
One of the things I guess we could start off, and I wasn't even planning on talking about this, is we could talk about that new modern Hawkeye costume, right? The one that's inspired by his original. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. You know what? I think I'm still of the kind of camp where I can see why people don't like it, but I also see why people do like it. Like, I think I was explaining that it's not necessarily like my kind of costume. I think like I'm of the camp that once I have Ronin equipped, like Ronin's never coming off. I was looking at it, and one of the things that I kind of felt like was off about it, I don't know about you, was like the face mask and how the face mask doesn't protrude outwards. But I wonder if that's kind of like the sleek modern look that they're going for. You know what I mean? Like, it's all very smooth looking, even though there's some bits and pieces kind of at play there. That was like the first thing that jumped out to me, because when I think of Hawkeye, I think of the big mask with like it just comes out and it's crazy looking. I don't know what words I'm looking for here, but like that's kind of like the vibe I get from him. And then I looked at that one, it's like very sleek, it's very smooth, like the helmet's just all there. Like, what did you think about that? Just very quickly, as we talk about, costumes and PR announcements and all sorts of things like that.
Well, the way I look at it is like actual classic costume is very flamboyant in a sense of
That's a good word. Yeah.
For an archer that realistically wants to take out people from a relative distance, he had a very colorful costume.
Yes.
I think that even though I'd love just a complete one-to-one replica of that suit, just because I love classic comic cheese, I do understand that obviously in this world, that costume, that take on the classic suit makes a lot of sense, because this Hawkeye, even his iconic, not the day off one, the actual like full bodysuit one is mostly dark with just his logo on it. So it clearly seems to me that they want to go for realistic takes on these characters, and an archer's not going to want to fucking wear something that's like, look at me, I'm over here aiming the bow. True. I get it, and I like it. I think it's really cool. Weirdly enough, I like the back of the helmet for some reason. It sort of seems a bit like sleek the way you described it, but it's the front of the helmet that I'm still getting used to. There's something that looks a little bit like it doesn't fit his face.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think it
might
nice.
it might be one of those things where we're gonna have to see it in game. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like with a lot of these things, it's definitely like you look at it like in a video, or you look at it, like the weekly blog post, how it's just like the picture of it, and you're just like, eh. But then and then some of these you have to like actually like physically get it in game and then look at it to kind of get the vibe of what it really looks like. And I there was a lot of people who had said that actually. They were like, I'm not sure about it. It's gonna be one of those I'm gonna have to like kind of equipped and play around with, and maybe it's good, maybe it's not, but it's hard to make that judgment. And I feel like that's a pretty fair judgment. Like, people want to see these things up close and personal before they're like yeah, this is trash, or like, yeah, this is amazing. I think like coming out and being like, yeah, like this could be good, but I got to see it is probably like the most like, it's a respectable take. I mean, I say that quite a bit actually. It's like some of this shit could be really good, some of this shit could be really bad, but until I get my hands on it, it's just all guesses at that point, you know. So,
Well,
um,
we have such a good photo mode community in Avengers that they can make any suit look really good. So I look forward to seeing people just take photos of these kind of outfits and stuff. Like
mhm,
I wasn't outsold on Prometheum. I did like it, but I didn't want to spend legendary price on it, right? And then
right,
Riffian decided to post some photos of it, and I was like, oh man,
mhm.
like, I have to go and buy it now. So
That's it,
it's
dude.
it just
Riffy
shows
just makes
that.
you want to buy everything, eh?
I think that, well, I mean, this is why a lot of people say, like, I have a friend as well that says that Riffian should get all the skins for free because then he can take photos of them.
That's an interesting idea. That'd be interesting. Hmm. All right. Well, if anyone at Crystal Dynamics is listening, maybe there's an idea. Um, all right, we've done our free clout for the day, so that's it. No more free clout gets done on this show. Everyone, there's only one opportunity for free clout, and unfortunately, you just wasted your opportunity on Riffian. So, um,
As if Riffian needs the clout. Come on, High
well,
Roller.
I mean, you go so far, and that's it, dude. You can only get so much out of this. All right, so let's switch gears here and let's talk about some clout gaining in the reassemble campaign streams this week. So anyone who missed it this week, Crystal Dynamics streamed 3 days of the reassemble campaign, the native PS5 version, I believe it was. So this was kind of a stripped down version of their final build for the March 18th patch. And basically, what they did is they played through. I guess it was like half. Did they play through half of it? Maybe just a little more than half.
It was a bit weird because they kind of went from like the very beginning, so A Day, to they
Mm-hmm.
skipped a little bit and then they skipped really far. And poor Andy didn't decide to level up his Kamala, so he was like level like one, no gear, no nothing,
Yeah.
fighting like people in the Thor mission, which if you guys don't know is pretty much three-quarters of the way through. So
Yeah, so I mean, they were doing that this week, and they had a bunch of people on. It was I mean, I can't list off all the people. They had Keanu on, they had Hannah on. I'm gonna miss people, and I'm so sorry, but they had a whole host of people on, and it seemed like a lot of it, like, it was fun. Like, from what I saw, people were just kind of enjoying themselves. Whether it was Andy on the stream with all the developers, or it was people in chat, or it was people talking about it. The vibe I was getting was just a fun time. And to me, that was really nice to see, because I've always said, like, the campaign isn't my jam, Like, I don't particularly care about campaign replay. I don't particularly care about watching those streams because it's not my thing. But on the other hand, I was really enjoying, the kind of the fun people were having, right? Because,
yeah,
let's call a spade a spade. When, a lot of the time when they go live, it is kind of like, you're at some point you're throwing the hens, and the wolves are open to the hen house kind of situation. And from what I was getting, it was everyone was just kind of having some fun this week. But I know you covered it with Suki, and Rid was there for the first one, I believe. So why don't you give me the scoop on kind of everything that happened with the dev streams this week?
so I mean, obviously, you covered the first day with all the like with the information and stuff like that that come from
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There
We
was
could talk about that after. Yeah.
yeah, but I'd say like overall, like it was good vibes. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of times where like on the streams. I turned the mainstream down because I thought to myself, like, as much as I like hearing about this, they're not going to be going into anything that isn't too like groundbreaking. So I got to just watch the gameplay rather than like. I'm not saying it was lip service, but I didn't need to be persuaded to enjoy what I was looking at. If that makes sense, I was literally
Yep.
just like eyes glued, and I think that it. I mean, there were so many moments and set pieces, like for example, A Day, which always I think always looked great anyway. But on PS5, there's just it's much more prettier, and the things that made me really happy was that there was a moment like spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played the reassemble campaign. I'd be very shocked if you're watching this and you haven't, but there's a moment where Kamala and Bruce are walking together, and Bruce obviously turns into Hulk. They see the aim lab, and Hulk runs off. Well, on that moment, I think myself and pretty much everyone else I've ever spoken to had a real bad frame drop as Hulk was running off to the AIM lab, which obviously watching that, not seeing any frame drops and stuff like that, it just felt like a brand new experience to be able to go through because I had my campaign kind of ruined by launch bugs and stuff like that. There was stuttering, there was all sorts of problems with it. So I never got to really relax and enjoy it. Whereas this gives me an opportunity to go through it with a new lens, so to speak, of everything that I already know from the story and be able to really examine it and stuff like that. And I mean, they gave some hints while the stream was going on about how, like, for example, when you're in Heroes Park, there's graffiti on the walls that people haven't noticed that hint towards heroes that are in this universe. Now I have a reason to go and explore even more, you know, and the destruction too will make a lot of Hulk mains very very happy because the fact that the rubble, you know, like his heavy attack where he like punches the ground and almost flips the entire floor underneath him, with the rubble just sticking around and all this added destruction. I think that people who are worried that it didn't make you feel like a superhero, I don't think they'll have that problem on the PS5 version or next gen version.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's all going to be kind of cranked up a little bit, which is good, you know? Like I think definitely as you say, like to the people who say like this doesn't make me feel like a superhero or make me feel strong, like obviously a lot of that comes down to the effects around your attacks. It comes down to the visual, like the visual, what's the word I'm looking for? Like there's a word I'm looking for, but it's basically like when you do something and or even like the heroics, for example, right? They said they're changing the effects and the
Yeah,
particles and the lighting.
making them kind of like super heroics, for example, like Cap's
Yeah.
Brooklyn Brawler, when he jumps up and he slams it. Originally, in the current version, it's not a massive looking like shockwave that hits, which is clearly the response it's supposed to be, right? Like a big
Yep.
shockwave from the shield to the floor.
Yep.
But in this case, it's like in the actual next gen version when they showed A Day and they showed the bit of Cap gameplay, you could literally see the shockwaves knock back everyone around you to let yourself have room for obviously to use Brooklyn Brawler. So it's stuff like that that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, no, I think that and I mean like to be honest with you, like that's probably for me more exciting than the campaign replay itself, but going through the campaign and having all this improvements will definitely improve that experience, no doubt about it, right? For anyone who's planning to like, who has a next gen console and who's like dying for the 18th just to play campaign replay, like I think there's going to be a lot there just by the improved visual effects, by the improved frame rate, that it's not going to be like a totally new experience, but it is going to be an experience that is improved and is probably going to be a more satisfying experience than what a lot of people, including yourself, had in September, for example, right? Which is good. I hope people enjoy it. I hope people enjoy a lot of that. So for me, yeah. But for everyone else, like, I hope people really take the time and enjoy it, and just kind of let it all soak in. For example,
Such a hater. Why aren't you not looking forward to reassembling the Avengers? What's wrong with you?
you know what, Stardust? Listen here, Hollywood.
Improved visuals, right? What's wrong with you? Think about
Well,
the Iron Man scenes where we're flying through with rock music playing, man, and all the explosions and all the cool stuff. The set pieces.
Stardust, 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 Stardust. Oh
Iron Man
God,
flying, Iron
Stardust.
Man flying to space. Think about it.
I'm thinking about it, and you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking
Huh.
about doing that all in custom harm rooms. Actually, just kidding. I'm actually thinking about doing that in Future Imperfect. All right, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Future Imperfect. I'm thinking about moving forward. Seeing what's next. And one of the things that before we talk about Future Imperfect, I really want to kind of hone in on a lot of the information we got on that first day because as everyone knows, and as you know, I am so critical of communication. And that first dev stream, we had Crystal PR guy. Don't know who he is. We just know he's a mystery Crystal PR employee. And the cool thing about Crystal PR guy was that they were actually answering quite a few questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when like for me seeing that was like better than the stream itself, right? Like knowing that they were in there and they were answering questions, whether it was about cross saves, right? Now that cross saves are confirmed to, not something they're looking at, it sucks, but now, for example, we can stop talking about cross saves, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's just, for me, when I see stuff like that, it's like, oh, good, like they're actually communicating, they're actually answering questions. There's actually someone dedicated to, like, answering all the questions. One of the coolest things, and I'm gonna say cool, take it as it is, was them kind of confirming that there are multiplayer fixes in 1.5, right? No, like,
Hmm.
seeing that, for me, that answer right there gives me a lot of hope. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe on Thursdays it's gonna bite me in the ass, but when I see an answer about multiplayer fixes, I'm like, holy shit! Like, okay, guys, like, because the multiplayer stuff and the bug fixing with that has been so back and forth. Communication around it, what's in these patches, what's not in these patches. They'll say optimizations, but them trying to say, and then Phil later on Friday too, kind of confirming that this is something they're actually working towards, and there's a whole host of these fixes in 1.5, but. Kind of having this solid communication line in a big dev stream, right? Like, let's give credit where credit's due. Tuesday, for that first stream there, it was like pretty substantial, right? It was showing off the native PS5 version, like, and the fact that they kind of came out guns blazing with someone dedicated there to answer questions, like, credit where credit's due on that one. Like, it was
I
it was
will.
just nice to see, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just to interrupt real quick, I wanna make a little pin note about the fact that in the first day, Thor had a little visual bug. So
Yes.
the twirling hammer, the animation for that sort of stuck around really briefly, and it was nothing groundbreaking. Like, who cares, right? But
Yeah.
they still made it a point to I think Andy mentioned it when he saw some of the usual suspects in the replies being like, "Oh, glitch, dead game." Was like, this is not the final version, and we kept hearing that throughout. So I don't think that's just lip service to make us go, "Oh, we won't worry about it." Then it's clearly something that they're very proud of, this patch. And to me, I made a point saying that the reason why I think from War Table to release is going to take so long is because they want to treat March 18th as the first official step in the right direction. And I think that if 1.5 comes with these multiplayer fixes and they get good reports on it, because no one's going to really use multiplayer for a little bit because we're all going to be playing as Clint. So they'll be able to rest for a weekend finally, knowing that we have a lot going on. And then next week after that, hopefully they get some reports. Yes, everything's working cool. No, well, I mean, there will be some issues because it's a game. It's difficult to never have no problems, but all the problems that are stopping them from labs are fixed. Like, oh, I don't have to reload my checkpoints. Enemies are not falling through the floor. Da, 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 da. They're like, okay, all right, let's press the button then. Let's get the labs out. And then that Friday, boom, that's out. Oh, let's do Super Adaptoid, boom, and the hype train just keeps going on. And obviously we've got the Square Enix event, so obviously that's even future more information that they've got a great chance to carry some momentum. So I hope that March 18th goes perfect for them because I really want to just jump on this hype train and not feel bad for jumping on it.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about the Square Enix, whatever. People are gonna beat me up for that anyways, right? But I think in terms of the Square event, I'm on full hype train mode, kind of, whatever you call it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm there. But in terms of the 18th itself as a gameplay day, I mean, I'm with you that I hope, that their excitement and their enthusiasm for the 18th carries over to the product we play, right? Whether it's multiplayer fixes or whether it's all these little bugs are kind of, ironed out to the point where, like, they're very, very rare. If not, we never see them again. It does sound like this could be that first step. And, we have said this before. I've said it before, actually, that, depending on what they do or how they do it, that could be the first step. But it does seem like, to Crystal Dynamics at least, that the 18th is kind of that first step into kind of righting the ship, because of where everything has gone. And to their credit, they do, like you said, they do seem very kind of enthusiastic and proud of kind of what they're going to launch on the 18th, right? And, kind of shifting gears a little bit, we can actually, kind of talk about the 18th itself, and we can talk a little bit about Hawkeye, because there is quite a bit there about Hawkeye. I watched it, you watched it, everyone watched it, and it was a lot of fun. When I see Hawkeye And to me, it was just like every worry that I had about them being similar, them being Kate and Clint, just evaporated. It was gone.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
them admitting, I think it was AJ admitting that they originally had plans to clone them, and then they decided not to.
Oh,
You know, like like
God.
for y-
Like, and
that is the perfect reaction. Just yeah,
the
please
thing,
continue.
the thing is, right, is that, and by the way, I am totally positive about this. This will probably be the only negative that I have to say about anything.
Hmm.
I hate the fact that that was their original mentality anyway. Does
Yeah.
that not, does that, you know what I mean? Does that not, to me, that concerns me a little bit that they went into this with that idea anyway, and that to me is a bit like,
Well.
nah. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the thing is, I understand games have clone characters. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
MUA 3 had 4 different spider people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I do totally understand it, but I'm so glad they went in a different direction, because if they didn't, then that, I think it would have been game over, to be honest. If Clint
Yeah,
came
it would
out
have been.
as a
Yeah.
carbon copy, that, yeah, no.
Yeah, it definitely would have been. And you know what? I want to say it speaks to their shift in development focus. You know, like think about launch. You know, all like pretty much all the interiors looked similar, if not the same. You know, recolors of costumes. And now lately it's been we could people will disagree about the costumes themselves, but they are different to a point. And now they've talked about how they changed their development focus of Clint, instead of a
Yeah,
character that was very carbon copy. Now he's his own kind of thing, right? It seems like they are slowly starting to shift away from kind of reusing a bunch of things to get the most value out of it, to like making sure that whatever they put out to a point is unique enough that it's its own thing. You know what I mean? Like when you choose two archers and with two swords, like you know people are gonna look at them. They're gonna be, yeah, okay, like it's two archers and two swords. You shoot an arrow, you hit, you move a sword, right? But they are different enough. Just like now, we saw with the mission structure of Future Imperfect, and we
oh,
saw
I
kind
love
of,
it.
you know what I mean. Like things do seem like they are trying to diversify what they're offering to players. Not by a lot, granted, but they are seemingly trying to move away from reusing as much as they can to try and give people more unique things. And you know what, it takes a lot to kind of admit that like you were wrong. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot to say like we thought we were gonna do this and we decided that was wrong. Like it does take a lot to say that. And like let's read through the lines a little bit. I know he said like, oh, we thought about that for like 1 second. There was probably quite a bit of debate, because like having to redesign like a whole character, it takes a lot. Like it's not easy work, from the whole design process to voice acting, to motion capture, to building out the skills and then building out the item. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of their development process would have been cut in half, just being like, yeah, like they're the same character, like whatever, fuck it. um
Yeah,
so for them to be like, yeah, like we thought about that and then we said, oh fuck, we can't do that. Like it does take quite a bit to come out and say like, yeah, we were fucking wrong. Granted, it probably should have never been a conversation in the first place. It should have always
yeah,
been like,
yeah.
these characters are definitely supposed to be unique no matter what, especially ones that are very similar to each other, because holy fuck, if we release two that are the same, we're fucked. Like, you know what I mean? Like it should have never been there. But kudos for them being like, yeah, like if we do this, we're fucked. Like, and they would have been. You're
Yeah.
right. Like you do that, like you're basically offering yourselves up to like everybody. Like I would have been pissed. Like I don't like, in the grand scheme of things, Kate nor Clint are my favorites, but I enjoy Kate, and it looks like I'm gonna enjoy Clint. And if they were the same character, I'd be like, why the fuck am I playing Clint when I have Kate?
Exactly. Well, here's the thing: is that like when they release characters, unless if they're doing it in the system they seem to be, say it's another 3 months, right, until we get
Mm-hmm.
the
I
next
don't
big
think I don't
character.
think it's
Say,
gonna be that long, but okay, yeah, sure.
oh no, but just say it is that pattern, right?
Okay.
Say they do a 3 month pattern. They need to characters need to come out and they need to look fun to even people who aren't fans of them, because there's if they for some reason didn't decide to carry on this momentum and use this as a time to really start adding the hype. So say we have another wait for Panther or Spider-Man or whatever, right? If Panther's cool in the eyes of Panther fans, but then because they want to play as a Black Panther. But for anyone else, they're a bit like, I can, I'll skip him, whatever. Then,
Hmm.
then they're not doing it right.
Yeah.
If they released like a bunch of characters, MUA style, didn't care, whatever, then it's different because you can still pick the one that you like, even if they're similar. So there's a whole roster of people that even if they are just like basic, you at least get to play as that one person you wanted to be. So if they're releasing a new character, the mindset, this is what I meant when I said like, oh, that should never have been a conversation in the first place, is that when you release these things, you're advertising them as like new story, new bio, new hero, a bit of momentum carried on afterwards. So make sure to stick around. And if the hero was just a fucking carbon copy of the one we had like 3 months ago, I mean, granted, they wouldn't have taken
Yeah.
as long, obviously, but
Yep.
like, um, then all you're doing is sort of like telling people like, look, you may have waited this long. We didn't do a lot with that time. Do you know what I mean? But obviously
Yeah, it looks
now,
bad. Yeah.
yeah, now that we've seen like Clint, even though, yeah, of course he has some similarities. Of course he does. He's the teacher. Do you know what I mean? He's not.
Hmm.
And when people saw his razor arrows, like his basic arrows, I saw some people complain about. I was like, he's an archer. He's gonna have normal fucking arrows. Do you know what I mean? He's not just gonna have a bunch of fire tornado arrows ready at all times. Like you've got a sort of, there has to be similarities to make that connection because they are two Hawkeyes. But the heroics, the upgrades, uh, pretty much everything else is different enough. Like the tripwire arrows, yes, they do look a bit like scattershot from the war table. But when we went into the showcase, we saw that there's a lot more to them. Like they can really back
Hmm.
people away. You can do a mini little tripwire that really damages the one enemy, or you can aim it out, and the longer you load it up for it, it does a wider spread. That's not like scattershot.
Right.
So
Well,
therefore, you've changed it up a little bit, and that could be a criticism for the war table that should have maybe shown these things. But again, I wasn't a big fan of the Kate war tables, but I loved her showcase. So maybe I'm just sort of someone that just wants to get into the nitty gritty of it rather than be like, see a polished thing, because it's like a McDonald's advert, right? You make the
hmm.
burger look as nice as possible, but then you like buy one, and it's all squished and greasy. Whereas this is the case of the war table does nothing for me, but the showcases give me a whopper.
Well, let me ask you then. Would you like to see them change how they kind of introduce characters then, instead of like a war table deep dive and then like a showcase however many weeks later? Would you rather them kind of do something on one day, or like, to give you like a full breadth of information at once? Or like in your perfect scenario then, since you didn't enjoy the war table for both of these, say Spider-Man is next, what
Okay.
would you do different to kind of showcase Spider-Man and what he's all about, to kind of bridge the gap between the war table not showing enough and the showcase showing everything you want?
Well, here's the problem: is that I'm not a huge Kate and Clint fan, but I'm a big
Okay.
Spider-Man fan. So polishing up Spider-Man will excite me because I'm biased, right? But say I'm not a fan of Spider-Man or whatever.
Hmm.
I would probably have it so that the war table deep dive is really a deep dive, and we go into these combat things, and you don't have to explain them as in depth as you would your combat showcase if you want to do that scenario, but show us why it's different to who you've released before. Like, say Spider-Man has a charged webbing, right? And it's similar to the tripwire, but obviously he just makes it come out of his hat, like wrists or whatever, his web
Right,
shooters.
right. Yep.
Show us why it's not the tripwire arrows coming from his wrists. Right,
Hmm.
show us how you've reinvented the wheel, because the war table, the idea is that it's supposed to be a polished advert for these characters, but all people did was they kept comparing it, like his rocket arrows. Oh, that's like Iron Man's arrows. But when you realize it's just a dodge heavy attack, like an intrinsic dodge heavy attack, a parry attack. There you go. People were like, okay, that's pretty cool, because it's not one of the things. It's not something you'd really have to use, but it's awesome that it's there. Like Clint has think it's a 3 light attack, 1 heavy attack arrow that's a suspension arrow, and
Yep.
it's just something they've dumped in his arse, and it looks awesome. Do you know what? Like
Hmm.
it's incredible,
Yep.
and you know it's awesome for melee combat, and that's something that maybe they should have shown because they were talking about all these arrows in the war table, but there was no look at the
Yeah,
suspension
they
arrow.
didn't show. Yeah, yeah.
Which is a shame because that's beautiful. I was excited. I was like, oh, I might have to go melee now. And then they showed the fire tornado, and I was like, fuck, now I need to go range valor. Like, I don't know what to do. And here's the thing. And just to go on to another topic, and just to take us back a little bit, with all these arrows Clint has and all these options, I have the feeling I might actually have been overwhelmed with the amount of skill points I would have gotten. I'm just saying. Like, you know.
You're
So
opening up a can of worms, my friend.
I'm just saying. I'm just
Opening it up.
in my personal opinion. I'm not arguing with no one. But all the arrows I saw and everything looking beautiful, and I didn't know what to do with it. I have a feeling that on the day of release, if we were leveling up like to level 15, like 3 missions, I would have been like, fuck, I don't know what to do with all my skill points.
Okay.
Genuinely.
Okay.
So
Well, let's. Okay, we can actually extrapolate that to like a larger conversation then,
let's
because
go.
it seems like a lot of the time what Crystal does is they make changes without giving you the second half of why those changes are being made, right? So, for example, we could talk about the XP changes. Do you think the XP changes are in mind for how their characters may get a little more diverse and complex in the future? Like, as we look at someone like Cap or Thor or Iron Man, kind of pretty straightforward. But as we start
Yeah.
branching into these new characters, do you feel like there's a chance that these characters are getting more complex with, obviously, and I have said this before, obviously in a game like this, there is a little bit of power creep that kind of comes in eventually, right? They learn new things, they see what they can do, community suggestions they implement. Like, so there is a little bit of power creep. And because of that, do you feel like maybe there is going to be some more complexity to some of these characters coming down the line this year?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like, and the thing is, right, is that by the sounds of leaks and stuff like that, there's quite a few heroes that are known for having multiple weapons and multiple attacks to their arsenal that are going to make it really difficult to be able to stamp down a build. Now, with Clint, we've already seen all the options that he's going to have. We haven't even looked at his mastery yet, right?
Right.
But there's all these like different arrows you can use. He has his own battery effects because he does a lot of shock damage, but you can spawn like plasma or
Right.
ice if you want to go that route and use something else as your status effect. There is a lot here for people who like these sort of games, have a lot to experiment with. Like we could be seeing really cool support builds, really cool melee builds. We could be seeing really cool battery damage builds, or and all sorts. And I think that with that in mind, them doing this XP change after looking at Clint and already being a bit like shit, I don't know what to do with myself. Like I don't know what to do with it because I spent some time on my own. I was going to do a video on this, but I decided not to because I just wanted to be a bit of a fan. Look through it, and I watched Tony Bing's video as well. Going into shit, I've sorry mate, advertised again. I
No
was
free
watching
clout, man. No free clout. It's
uh,
all good.
I was watching his video and he was going through the skill tree in depth just a little bit, and even then, even when he was reading them out and they were on screen, I got to pause the video. I was
Hmm.
like, fuck. I don't know what to do, like,
Yeah.
and that's before we got to the mastery. So I'm thinking to myself, like, if I'm like that now, and I've been like in the late stages of the game since like I don't know, mate, like the pretty much by the end of last year. So I've had a while to really get into like deeper builds and stuff.
Hmm.
If that's the reaction to Clint, then I can totally understand this of not wanting to force people into this XP thing because I think that I don't think players were overwhelmed. I think that I think that newer players might be a bit overwhelmed by them wanting to make these characters more complex. I get
That's
that
interesting. Yeah.
because of Clint with all these different arrows, with all these different options, with all these builds that you can do, as someone who's never played a looter game before, so the gear's weird, or as someone who's never played this sort of game before where you have to do a lot of reading, uh, they might be overwhelmed by Clint, which is
Yeah.
why I think this might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits their MO, right? Like make a change for the future, but like very poorly communicate why you're making that change, right? Like, and you
Yeah.
know, like when you bring up like the complexity that it does seem that Clinton is going to have a little bit when it comes to the variety of arrows. Like, it does seemingly make sense that like maybe it's going to, you know, in the future, like these characters are going to get a little more diverse, and there's going to be a little bit more meat to them. So, I mean, it's really interesting you bring that up, and you say you're a little overwhelmed because you know, if you start connecting the dots, and unfortunately like we're in the position where sometimes we have to connect the dots, um you know, you start looking at that, you're like, huh, maybe this kind of makes sense a little bit, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
and yeah, and sorry, but the thing is that like obviously because like you said, the communication isn't always the best. So sometimes you need to
mm,
kind of look past the curtain, and you need to kind of imagine yourself in one of those meetings, in one of those boardroom meetings, right? Like a fly on the wall, and you just have to think, what was the thought process? And then when you get a bit more time, and you look at Clint, for example, you think to yourself, okay, so whoever wrote that announcement or post was a bit of an idiot because if you had advertised it as Clint is really fucking, do you know what I mean? There's a lot here.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we want to make this change for not only people who get to play as Clint, but our characters in the future are going to be really like diverse. So let's make
mm,
this change now. We promise you this will be beneficial when you see how top tier our characters are in the future. You could have done it as an advertisement. Do you know what I mean? You could have made it sound really good. Like, wow, they're taking XP down because all these characters are going to be absolutely insane. And it's like, even if they're not, it's not the point. Like you're still
yeah.
advertising, you know, and it would have looked really good on news outlets
Well,
and websites that covered it.
it could have been like spend time building your perfect character. You know what I mean? Like some like cringy like PR line like that. You know what I mean? Like, want to build your
Yeah.
favorite Avenger? Well, you know, here's some extra time to perfect the build that you want. Line it up perfectly with your gear. Like, yeah, I mean, like you could throw like a corporate PR line like that, and maybe it would have worked. Maybe it wouldn't have. But I probably would have, you know, not been as harsh on a line like that, knowing it was like a corporate PR bullshit instead of like a personal vendetta, you know, kind of message. But I mean, definitely, I think if we're just kind of wrapping up that point that you made, it definitely does seem like, you know, we'll have to wait and see how the next few releases go. But if these characters are kind of complex and there's lots of options to them, there's lots of build pass, I should say, then it does seemingly play into like, you know, spending more time learning the characters. Because yeah, I mean, if anyone looks at like the original six and Kate to an extent too, you know, I can't imagine a lot of people. Now, granted, you know, maybe I just talk to the very hardcore side of the community, but you know, when it comes to like the original six, and then you know, Kate is the seventh. You know, I didn't see a lot of people come out and say like, oh, like I was too confused. That, you know, I was given too many at once. I didn't know what to pick. Like, you know, but granted, we don't know what the future holds, and if Clint, you know, with the mastery still not being kind of discovered yet, you know, obviously we're gonna have to go in there and see what's up. You know, there is potential that these characters do get a little more complex, and we'll have to wait and see how it all kind of shapes out once again, right? And you
Yeah.
know, a perfect segue into kind of waiting to see how it all turns out is the Square Enix event that just seemingly was announced out of nowhere. Um,
I shouldn't make this joke, but I remember as soon as it was announced, because it's on the same time as Assemble for Charity, I literally went into the group chat, went, "Wow, Square Enix hates charity. Hate to see
I mean,
it."
yeah, I mean, you said it, not me, man. And we'll talk about Assemble for Charity too. There's a lot to talk about there actually, but before we get into that, obviously this kind of announcement just kind of came out of nowhere. You know, like
Yeah.
you know, kind of putting it on the same day as the DLC. It's really interesting. I wonder if there's something at the end of the DLC that would have spoiled whatever
Yeah.
they're gonna show anyways. So it's like, you know, they had to have put it on the same day, if not, you know, the presents was gonna have to be after. um yeah, give me your thoughts on what you're expecting out of this kind of announcement event. You know, what's your pie in the sky, what's your kind of low, you know, I'm not expecting anything. Give me like your full range of like your optimism to your pessimistic views, like give me it all.
Well, I think it's interesting that the Square Enix event is on March 18th. Now, obviously, we know they've got other games showing, so they've got Outriders, for example, and they've got other games. So like
They got other games, you know, they're a
and
pretty big publisher. Yeah, yeah.
they've got stuff like that. So what makes me interested is March 18th must have not just been a CD choice, right?
No,
They
yeah, no, no,
must
no,
have
no, no. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it must, the stars aligned a bit too well, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
like so obviously, but the thing is, that's fine. But here's like the thing that obviously I sort of feel for him for is, for example, when Phil has to say we can't talk about that yet, we don't know what is holding them back.
Yep.
Now we have an idea that potentially the reason they haven't been able to say things, but they have been able to say, "Oh, we'll communicate that in the near future," is because Square Enix is going to do it for them. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So they can't,
Yep.
and they're not going to be able to say, "Sorry, guys, Square Enix has the gun pointed to our backs. We
Yep.
can't say nothing," because they obviously want to announce it for their event. So obviously, not only is it good advertisement for Avengers because loads of people will be watching it, but I just burped. Uh, they'll obviously there's a lot of like I'll be honest, my best case scenario, uh but I'm I want to say I am expecting it just because, like you said, it's like on the same day. What are they hyping towards? I think it's a guarantee we'll see Black Panther.
Okay. All right.
And because he's on every console, I think we'll get a hint at the end. I think we'll get all that. I think that Spider-Man will be a thing. I know people keep telling me every time I say it, they're like, "Oh no, state of play, state of play." I think the only reason Sony isn't interested in doing it is because of Avengers' status at the moment. So
True.
I think I think they're not going to push the button on state of play. I think they're going to let Square do it and see how they get a response. See how the response is, and then be like, "Aha, Spider-Man" on their social medias. You know what I mean? And then I
Hmm.
also think we're going to get a roadmap.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on the roadmap. Now the reason I say a roadmap is because when Phil is like, it's in approval, it's in approval, and it's in approval, what better way to kind of introduce your roadmap and for it to be in an approval stage, right? Like when you're putting stuff together for a showcase like this, it has to be approved, right? Like like
Hmm.
that's the bottom line. So for me, when it's like, oh, it's an approval, it's an approval, it's like, yeah, now it's an event. And granted, I think when you're reaching out, it's once again, you're reaching out of your insular community, right? So when you're reaching outside of your community, you're all about bringing eyeballs in, right? So like, what's one of the biggest things you've heard from outside of this community? Just give it to me.
It's roadmap.
No, no,
Need
no,
a
no, no, no.
roadmap.
Well, it's the game's dying in 6 months, right? It's after Spider-Man is done, the game's done. You know what I mean? Like it's contract obligation, and that's it. So for me, when I hear this, when I see this criticism, the perfect answer to the overall gaming community is here's the roadmap for the next year, right? Like. And then
Yeah, yeah.
you put a little more at the end for like 2022 or whatever, right? But the perfect way to respond to the criticism that and there is some that comes from inside the community, granted, but a lot of it is from outside, and the perfect way to answer that is like Black Panther, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, like like whatever, wherever, however. It's kind of reaching outside and showing that this game has some legs under it for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future. And to me, I would be very shocked if they don't have a roadmap. So you guys are getting the guarantee. I'm giving the guarantee on this one. You guys can come back and tweet me or write emails to me, or if I'll set up a fax machine for anyone out there. Like, I am guaranteeing that we're gonna get a roadmap on the 18th, and I would be very shocked. I would be shocked and obliterated if we didn't. It just the stars are lining up way too perfectly. I've seen Square people tweet this. I've seen Marvel Games people tweet this. Like, when was the last time you saw a Marvel Games employee tweet about this game? Maybe before launch. Maybe Kate.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've seen Danny Koo tweet more about Future Revolution, a game that's coming out 6 months from now, than he has tweeted about Marvel's Avengers, a game that's currently out right now. Like, you know what I mean? So for him to be like, all right, Marvel fans or Marvel Avengers fans, like, you want to see some cool shit? Better start tuning in, right? And then you would fill
Yeah.
in the stream on Friday, like hyping it up. I just feel like you could say like it's their job to hype people up. I get it, but there is way too much smoke for there not to be a fire that this is something that's supposed to be big. Like this to me, the hype feels like it's pre-launch. When the game is there, but it's not in our grasp yet, and everyone just wants it. To me, this feels similar to that, where the 18th is there. And granted, maybe this does take away a little of the steam from Future Imperfect. Maybe not. Maybe Future Imperfect. We don't know a lot of the narrative beats yet for Future Imperfect, so who knows? But to me,
Well, sorry, just again, real quick, just like
yeah,
they did a launch war table and it revealed Kate. So
yeah,
I think that their mentality with that is that they're carrying on momentum rather than trying to take away from what they currently have. Anyway, sorry.
sure. No, yeah, sure. No, that's a good point. It's just to me like they're like setting things up, and like Future Perfect could blow our socks off. Like narratively wise, like this could be like absolute bonkers, right? Like we don't we have an idea through leaks that Black Panther is next. Granted, Spider-Man has kind of jumped, but that's only for one platform. So narratively, like Black Panther seemingly is next, but you have Danny Koo tweeting "Watch the Sky" or whatever. Like who the fuck knows what that means? Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, War Machine, Falcon. Like maybe is Falcon like a secret character? Like you know what I mean? Like who the fuck knows at this point? Like when he tweets that, I'm like, dude, what? Like, did I do crack today or did you do crack today? Because like, like watch the sky. Did Black Panther go to space? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just at this point, like I don't know what to expect, but that's exciting. I know that it's got to be a roadmap, but outside of that, it's like I have no idea. And to me, that's what's making this week drag on. Like I'm gonna play Future Imperfect and I'm gonna love it, but it's the whole mystery surrounding this event that is kind of
Yeah.
that to me is like it's 4 o'clock on Sunday. Oh my god, man! Like come on, like and like I hope people get excited. I hope people are pumped for this because to me, this is what we're waiting for. Like this is like this game is gonna be here. Here's what to expect. Here's what's coming. Get excited. Get pumped. Let's go. And
Yeah.
and I hope people get excited. Like I'm on the hype train, choo choo. Like and for a lot of different reasons, I've been on the hype train in many different scenarios, and sometimes that has bit me in the ass. But I've seen way too many people tweet about this game that have not talked about it or tweeted about it in a very, 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 very long time. And to me, that is exciting. It just feels like it's big.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I see Watch the Skies, and we obviously again spoiler alert for people, we're in the middle of a Kree storyline. Now that has to scream Captain Marvel to me.
Mm,
So, but obviously from what we've seen with data mining and stuff, she's very far in the pipeline. But maybe they've done that on purpose. Maybe they're kind of baiting Miller a little bit. Maybe they've got something, you know what I mean? Something they found they found a way to hide all this extra stuff, and she's gone like thump, straight up to the line, and they're like ready to push the button. You know what I mean? Maybe we're all looking in the wrong direction, sort of thing. And or what
maybe. Sorry,
yeah,
go 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 go.
or watch the skies is a Spider-Man tease. Do you know what I mean? It could be that. I'm happy with either. Like, or yeah, because I definitely don't think Black Panther's ever grown wings, unless someone wants to tell me otherwise.
Maybe, dude. Here's I'm gonna throw the conspiracy theory out here. Maybe Miller was a Crystal Dynamics employee all along. Maybe he was. I've seen that theory posted around. I've seen it Twitter, Reddit, other streams. Maybe it's true. Maybe he was an employee. Maybe my friendship with him is based on a lie. And you know what? Who knows at this point? So, I mean, to be fair, like like you said, it is setting up for Kree. It's really it's going to be interesting if it is like more Kree teases, but then narratively the story goes to Wakanda and the Kree, like oh we take like what is this like filler? Like what is this anime filler? Like they're setting it up for the big Kree battle, and then like you get like 5 episodes where it's like you're on a side adventure, and it's like finding a secret kind of like a weapon or whatever for the big battle that's coming. It's like oh like I just want to see the big battle, like but hey I mean I don't know like who and to me that's like the exciting thing is like who actually knows.
Yeah, I have quite a big brain prediction for the narrative going into season 2. I've seen it posted, so I'm not the first person to say this,
Oh,
but
so you're ripping it off someone. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not,
Fair.
I'm not, I'm
Okay.
not. I've just
Fine.
noticed that it's quite a popular thing, but I will say it.
Okay.
So in the showcase, they played a
Hmm.
Wasteland mission, and we saw that it was Roy as the narrator.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, I've heard this. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so what if they return, they analyze the Kree technology. They're like, wow, this is going to be we can't deal with this. But because they've picked up some of the stuff, Hank's like, okay, I'm going to make something so we can fight the Kree. Then they make Ultron. And then obviously Ultron as Roy, because we know from the different outposts, as all these different split personalities and stuff, morphs into one to create this sentient being. And he's like, you know what? Humans suck. And then we get him as the
True.
main villain. Then we get him as the main villain for people, continuing on. And maybe this Ultron is trying to recruit Kamala, because obviously they had a cute little moment in the Reassemble campaign. But obviously Kamala's like, nah. So obviously Ultron, does maybe because here's the thing, maybe this could lead into Vision as well, because maybe the reason Jarvis can't exist in the future is because he became Vision and Vision died in the future.
Yeah, you're just throwing every theory out there today. Eh? Why don't we say like Scarlet Witch too? Like what you're just throwing it all out there. I mean, in a very serious note, it does make sense. Like there is a bit of logical consistency there that I think could work. Um, it just depends on like to further your point. Like when Roy came up, they were like, "Oh no, like don't talk about Roy." Like it's like, oh, like it's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting that they treated that as they did. But you know what, man? Like that's what I mean. Like there's so much narratively that we don't know about Future Imperfect, right? Is Maestro like the actual boss that we're fighting, or is he like halfway through? No one knows. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
to me, that's the exciting part. Like, what if you're like 3 missions in, you fight Maestro, and that's it, but you still have like a bunch of like story to get through. That could be like that's a huge twist. I don't know if I'm expecting that personally, but
What?
if there's still so much we don't know, does it make sense for Maestro to be the big boss?
I would love it if we're 3 missions in, fight Maestro, and they do a fake credit roll,
Oh God.
and just to annoy everyone. And then they're like obviously the post credit scene is actually just the rest of the campaign, but it's
Oh
just like a
God.
little fucking. That'd be so funny.
Oh God. I
Thank
mean,
you for playing Future Imperfect. Oh
It's
wait.
it, it's like that WandaVision episode, right, where the credits start rolling and then they keep going, like something like that. I mean, that'd be. I mean, I feel like people would be pissed. I think I might be pissed, to be honest
I
with
wouldn't
you.
actually. I wouldn't actually want that. I'd just love to see people's reactions on the stream or something. I
Oh,
think
you
that'd
just
be
want
good.
you just want to see the world burn around you. Okay, I got you. I
Pretty
see.
much.
You woke up and chose violence today, Stardust. That's fine. I appreciate your honesty about that.
I
Um,
mean, I was gonna make a Scott Amos joke when you mentioned Miller being a dev, but I decided to to pipe down.
are, are
Oh.
are we still making Scott Amos jokes? No. Well, you know what? Phil did say that him and I are friends, so maybe my relationship with Crystal Dynamics isn't totally burned. So maybe it's worth salvaging. If Phil is my friend and Phil is Scott Amos' friend, I'm like one step away from being Scott's friend. You know, is that how that
uh,
works? And
sure,
then
man.
if I'm one step away from being Scott's friend, I'm also one step away from bringing him on the show. Think about that, because friends help friends out.
Uh...
That no, okay, that's not how that works. That's fine. That's fine. Whatever, dude. Crush my dreams. So yeah, so I guess in kind of summary here, what did you think of? Because we started this conversation with Hawkeye, and then kind of the Future Imperfect stream. What did you kind of, as we kind of wrap this part up? What did you think about Friday in general, from the stream to all the information to Hawkeye to Future Imperfect? Like, what did you make as a total kind of package on Friday?
I think Clint looks incredible. If I wasn't excited before, which to be honest with you, again, similar to Kate, because they're not like I wouldn't go and read off a bunch of their stories or anything like that. Besides, my life is a weapon, because yes, we all have to read that.
Oh,
Like
do we have to?
beside
Sorry, I didn't pick up my
that's
copy.
did you not understand that's the Hawkeye Bible? If you don't read that, you're not allowed to play Future Imperfect.
All right. Well, I guess you guys enjoy then.
I'll have
My
to take
bad.
away my slot from Assemble for Charity. Whoops. No, but
Yeah, I guess so.
in all seriousness, though, it's like I like Clint, I like Kate. I wouldn't choose them in a game with like 40 other different people, though. But um, in this case, I was, when I was live reacting to it, I was literally jaw dropped for some of the things you can do. The
Yeah.
fire tornado, which I've mentioned already, is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
just has
I
no right looking that cool. Like,
I mean that was like the big pop off moment, right? Like I remember my chat, they were just they were going nuts for that, right? Like and I was going nuts for it because like you don't expect that from Hawkeye, like at least I didn't, right? Like so they just it was the lightning. I was like, oh, the lightning looks pretty cool. And then it
yeah,
was like
yeah,
the hail, and I'm like, okay, like all right. And then it was like the fire, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are what?
yeah,
You know
like.
what I mean? Like, where did that come from? Like, thank you, like. And no, I mean like that sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like that was like the pop off moment, right? That was like their big, comeuppance kind of like this is Hawkeye, you know?
But he has, if by the looks of it, he's an insane support,
Mm.
AoE beast, and it's like, and it makes you wonder just how they are going to differentiate future characters, because if everyone can do everything, then what's not what's the point? Because obviously you don't want to restrict too many people, but it is kind of awesome to see how much Clint can do, which it makes sense compared to Kate that Clint has a more variety of role choices because
Yeah.
he's done a lot in his career, right? Narratively, his combat being a much more advanced version of Kate's makes sense.
Mm.
I really am into it. And the Wasteland, when they first showed it, very first showed it, I was like, this is fucking Lyra Utah. What is this? But then when I saw how big it was, and I saw all the Kree Sentinels just flat out, and there was a part where like Andy as Clint walked past like a hand sticking out of the ground, and there was a Kree ship in the back. I
Yeah,
was like,
the
dude,
the warship was downed. Yep.
I was
Yep.
like, dude, this is next gen as fuck. Like, Jesus. Like, and
Yeah.
I started getting really into it. And then when Phil was like, look, they are aimbots, but it's different here. And I was like, okay, explain it. And they were like, so there's no one here controlling them. So they're just on their own. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense because
Mm.
AIM has like an unlimited amount of robots, clearly, right? And
Yeah.
when AIM goes under, who's there to control them? Who's there to give them orders? No one. So they're just stuck doing what they were going to do originally forever,
Mm.
which is why they're all rusty and stuff like that. And I was like, so they're kind of like zombie robots in a
In a
way.
way, yeah, of course. And I mean, like,
And
and I know people like just really quickly to touch on that. I know people are getting sick of robots, but we know the game's not sticking with robots forever. Like, it's very clear that this game is going cosmic sooner rather than later. Like, the moment the narrative supports it and like the work is done, like it's definitely
yeah,
is like they're going to cosmic route. Like, and so like I know, and I just want to touch on this quickly because I know people are like robots again, and like and all I can say is just like it's not going to be a forever thing, like I understand, like, and to a degree I'm kind of sick of robots, sick of AIM robots. Ultron's robots can be kind of cool as long as they differentiate them, but it's not a forever thing. We're not married to the AIM or the robots. It's just it's a for now thing, and unfortunately the for now is stretched longer than any of us really would have wanted it to, but it is something that will, kind of we'll move past eventually, kind of situation.
I think they're differentiating the AIM robots enough narratively for them to actually be kind of cool. Like in my head,
Mm.
I think of them as zombie robots, and that's
Okay.
just an insane combination, and it makes me kind of excited. Like the clip in the war table when one of the synthoids pop up from like underneath the
Mm.
ground. I'm
Mm.
like, dude, they're fucking zombies! Like this is sick. The
Yeah.
only thing that I'm a bit interested in is that we know there's humans controlling the
So
robots.
yeah, like humans inside or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
how does
unless
that work?
to be really, this is going to sound really morbid, and they won't do it, but I'd
Okay.
fucking love it. I
Okay.
would love if the robots, so the exo ones, the dudes in the middle. I
Yeah.
would
Yeah. Yeah.
love, and this is kind of sick, but I would love it if the
Oh
actual
no.
robots were sentient, but the people inside were dead. Like, just,
Oh
you know what I mean?
yeah. I
So
I was even I was gonna say, what if in the fight against the Kree, AIM tried to adapt some of the technology to make it so the robots could fight by themselves without humans inside of them? And, maybe that's how that happened. But, your way kind of works too. I mean, if you want to go that way, that's
It's kind of
fine.
morbid, isn't it? Because you got to
Yeah.
think the Avengers are beating up a corpse inside of a
Yeah.
robot.
I
Like,
mean,
yeah, no,
yeah, we're
it's.
we're gonna we're gonna just go with that one. Yeah, let's go with that. We're gonna go with
No,
that.
in all seriousness, there's clearly some sort of narrative reason because we know Taskmaster's going to pop up as well. So there must be something there.
Mm.
And that it could be interesting. Of course, it could be exactly as you said. I mean, maybe some of the humans in this universe decided to adapt the aim robotic technology to themselves so that they've kind
Mm.
of like lost a bit of their own humanity. So the reason they're always fighting similar to the robots is because their robot side may have gone a bit weird and stuff. I'm trying to head canon the
Sure,
reason they're
sure.
shooting
Yeah,
to,
no, I mean,
basically. You know
it,
what I
it
mean?
I mean, do you feel like they'll explain that? Like, is that something you think like they'll explain like why AIM is still around, or you think it'll be like a little hand wavy of kind of like, yeah, this is like it is what it is, and like obviously you can look at it as like the out of game reason, right? Where it's like obviously there's
Yeah.
only so much work to be done. Do you think you'll get like a narrative explanation, or do you think it'll be like this? Oh, AIM's here. Yeah, AIM actually never stopped. Whatever, and you just move on past it kind of situation.
I think that, yeah. I think the first one where it's like, because I think Phil mentioned it, and I feel like if Phil's got a narrative reason, then they must explain it, right? But I think the reason why there's people there will either be explained in the story or via audio files.
Right. True.
So I do think it will get a nod to. If they don't bother in the actual story, which I mean, all it takes is a couple of sentences, right? Just
Hmm.
to canon it into the universe. But if they don't, then the audio files are right there for you to use in case you've like looked through your story and gone, shit, we forgot to mention that. You've
Yeah.
got your audio files there ready to just explain it really quick and stuff like that. So I think that they know. The only thing that I'm a bit concerned with canon wise is that they in the story they're looking for like Kree stuff, right?
Hmm.
And they seem quite unknown about the Kree, but we know that Thor knows what the Kree are because the end of the story he names the Kree Sentry.
I think it's a matter of like maybe it's like something he knows, but like maybe Thor doesn't have like the greatest like run in with them. You know what I mean? So like maybe it's like you hear it in stories of war tales or whatever, but it's like Thor doesn't have like the first hand personal experience of like fighting these guys to a degree enough that he'd be able to like teach the Avengers or give enough information. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you
Yeah,
could
well, I
bridge
mean,
like you could bridge
it's a
that
very
gap.
easy, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It's a very easy explanation to just be like, yeah, he
Hmm.
knows a bit, but not enough. Like,
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's like the perfect time travel story, right? Like, however, like time travel stories are like you go into the future, you get all the information that you didn't have before, and you bring it back, and then you change the outcome. Like that's like very cliche time travel story. So it definitely to me, it's like obviously there's gonna be twists and spins, and I expect stuff that we don't see yet. But when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this like is this like an episode of The Flash, for example? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen this plot play out, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, there's only so much you can do with time travel in general, right? Like, how many times can you do a time travel story but do something different? And if you do something different, you know, you'll have people saying like time travel doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah, for sure, yeah.
like I was just gonna say with Endgame, for example, they tried to do something just a little bit different, and how many conversations or splinter conversations did you get out of like them trying to figure out like timelines, for example?
Yeah, well, I mean, for sure, it's always a weird subject. Like we have an understanding of how time travel works in real life. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm time traveling like later today actually to get like my lottery numbers. So
I'm time traveling to go and see if Future Imperfect's actually good or not. I'm going to do my review tomorrow.
oh wow, okay. So stay tuned to Stardust YouTube. Apparently he's gonna break it before the rest of us do. That's crazy.
No, but I think that something I do really appreciate, and it was a minor thing, but I really like it, is that, and I hope this is something we have to do every mission in the Wastelands anyway, is at the end when Andy was running back to the Quinjet, which is visible
Hmm.
in this mission objective, he has to fight. by the way, these robots coming out the ground, which is again awesome, uh, to stop Hawkeye getting back to the Quinjet, to escape the wastelands, to escape the apocalyptic future.
Hmm.
And there's something about that. It's like that's exactly kind of the sort of thing I always wanted in this sort of, because it's arse clenching in a way that if you say you challenge fours back, right? Say you got 160 enemies, so they're all quite difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
you as a player didn't watch this showcase, and you're like low on health. You're thinking to yourself, I really can't believe I did this mission. You get, oh, it's a Quinjet. Okay, I've got to go over there, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
these
Yep.
robots appear, and it's like shit, man, I can't do this. And it's that fear of like the fear that you probably would have felt even no matter who you are, obviously, unless you're the Hulk, because he doesn't have that thought process, where it's like, there's all these robots all of a sudden, what am I going to do? And I really like something as small as that. And it's one of them things where it's taking a concept, even if it is just beating up more robots, but it's putting it in a different scenario.
Yeah.
Collecting the data for the Kree is, yes, okay, you're going to an area, you're fighting robots, you're going to an area, you're fighting more robots, going to an area, but it is still a brawler game. You know what I mean? It's still,
Yep. Yep.
it's so people shouldn't expect anything like, okay, I've got to play a game of tic tac toe to get into the building, and then I've got to play Uno with one of the aim robots to unlock the Kree thing. It's like, no, it's got like action, action, action. That's the
Well,
idea, but you're
it's
still getting new objectives.
well, it speaks to what I said earlier, right? That they are trying to diversify a little bit of what they're doing, right? Like before it was very all samey, and now they are trying to diversify, whether it's, costumes or mission objectives, or you know what I mean? Like they did get the memo that like we want different things, and like that
Yeah,
is and like I said, it's not going to be like, totally different. It's going to be incremental changes, but it is still incremental changes, right? To the end goal that we all want. And to your point, there it is going to be a little. It seems like it's going to be a little bit more of that in Future Imperfect, which is like the exciting thing, right? Like, I'm not. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here. I don't know how fun I'm gonna have like running back to the Quinjet every single time. Like if the narrative of the mission speaks to it, totally cool. But if I have to like backtrack all the way to the Quinjet, like I mean, maybe I guess it all depends on the implementation of it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it could be very bad or
yeah.
very good. Yeah.
Because on that mission, what it seemed to be was it put you on a path, and
Mm-hmm.
rather than make you run back, the Quinjet met you on the other side. So I
Right.
think it meets you at a point rather than tells you to run back. At
Right.
least that's from what I saw. So say for example, right? Obviously, this isn't the case, but say like a typical villain sector. Obviously, you have to fight to the top. I don't think the idea is that, oh, okay, let me go all the way back
Sure.
down the tower, run back round, and then go back in. I think it's literally it'll meet you at the top of the tower. If that was the case, right? I
Right.
think that's obviously I can't completely confirm that, but just from what I saw from the showcase, I would imagine that that's kind of the idea. And I mean, like, I mean, I just
Well,
have
I
this
mean,
thought in my head.
if you're time traveling, you'll be able to confirm that, anyways. Sorry. Yeah. Continue.
That's a
Sorry.
good point. That's a good point. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but like I like the thought of having Maestro. We have this big brawl. Hopefully, it's multi-staged. Fingers crossed. And all of a sudden, we've got all this even more destruction around us from the fight. Maybe all the aim robots and even some of the Kree have been aware of what we're doing because this fight's caused that much of a mess. People are chasing after us. We have to run after the Quinjet. Oh shit, a wave of robots. Quick, kill them before the Kree sentries stomp on us. And then we
Mm-hmm.
jump in just in time, to the
Right.
past, and like just something like that. Just like there's so much they could do here to make people just go, "Whoa, my god!" Like, and obviously, eventually, it'll lose its luster because that's just a thing that happens in video games. But I
Mm-hmm.
think for a long while, there's going to be that thing of just like, this is cool as shit.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
And
I
and
think that
and
that's sort of thing.
and I think, ideally that, oh, this is cool as shit lasts, not just a day, like let's, obviously a lot of that, depends on like the content that's involved in Future Imperfect, but the idea is that like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, people, well into the next week, or people are like, yeah, this is really fucking cool, and
Yeah.
definitely set pieces like that can obviously raise the level a little bit, where people are like, oh fuck, that was really cool, they don't mind running it again or doing that mission again, because like to them it's like, this is a cool mission. It's got a cool cutscene. It's got cool objectives. Like, it's all very well implemented. And like, ideally, that's what we're looking for, right? So, I mean, in terms of Future Perfect and what I've seen based on kind of Friday's stream, I'm excited. Like, I think Future Imperfect is going to be better than Taking Aim. I
Oh
think
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I think I think like it's gonna be like to the point where we look back at like Kate's operation and be like, we played that, you know what I mean? Like, and I think
yeah.
like
No,
that's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of, and looking at Feature Perfect, it's like hopefully this is like, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you know what I mean? Like, there's more to it. The meat's there. Like, ideally, like that's what I'm looking for. And hopefully Thursday, my opinion doesn't change, and if it does change, it only gets more positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. There's so much hype and announcements that, say, for example, the Square event is like, okay. So say for some reason you're not a Black Panther fan, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
all that's on there. Which is, I mean, it's cool for the majority, but maybe you're not into Black Panther. That's totally cool.
Yeah.
But there's always something to love with the current thing that's coming out on Thursday. You've got campaign replay, you've got all this Hawkeye
Yep.
goodies, you've
Mm-hmm.
got the initiative, which is using the Wasteland in its rotation, which is awesome, by the way,
Yep.
and custom harm rooms. There's so much to buy into
Yep.
that even if something disappoints you, at least you can go, it's okay
Something
because I
else
still have
will. Yeah.
this.
Yep.
And if you dislike all of it, then I think you just need to chill out.
Yeah,
Like,
I ideally, like, and that's the point I've been making, is like certain pieces of the 18th won't appeal to me, right? Campaign replay won't appeal to me. Custom harm rooms won't appeal to me, but there's something there for everyone ideally, and that's what they're looking for, right? Like, little
yeah,
piece for you, little piece for you, little piece for you, and if you like all three of it, well, you get a big piece. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Like,
eh,
I mean, for me personally, I'm excited for all of it. So that's, yeah, it's a good day for me.
well, real quick, I know. What do you want to talk about next? Because obviously we have some concept art we can talk about. We can do the charity thing. We can do some Q&As. I'll let you pick what you want next.
No, there's too much pressure.
I know, I know. I'm teaching you.
I'm not doing another podcast. I know.
Okay.
I know. Last week we had that question where it was like, "Oh, are you going to do a podcast in your own?" Hyrule that. I'm not. I'm not leaving you, man. I'm not going to start my own
No,
podcast.
it's
I'm not going to
fine,
start
man. It's
the
fine.
reassemble podcast or the
Hmm.
unassembled podcast or
The
anything like
unassembled sounds
that.
good. Yeah, the unassembled sounds good. And that's kind of the vibe I think I get from you sometimes. The
Whoa,
unassembled. I
whoa,
know.
hang
I
on.
went there. I went there. All right, let's
Okay,
actually let's do some concept art then. So, for anyone who doesn't know, I might butcher his Twitter app, but I think it's All Father Memes, and I think on
that's right.
Reddit he goes by Wolverine. Oh God, I'm gonna butcher it. I'm gonna butcher it. It's like
I don't know what I don't
Kuz.
know what his Reddit is. So
Yeah, I've seen it though. I've seen it, and he may hate me for this. And if you're watching this, you're gonna see some concept art kind of pop up on the screen, and he's done a really good job at kind of showcasing, what could be the future of the game, from a Quicksilver to a Spider-Man to a Ghost Rider, a Captain Marvel. What do you make of all this? And is this, when you look at like the aesthetics of this? What do you make of all these pictures and his work done on it? Give me your kind of quick and dirty thoughts on what he's shown this far. Because I know you did a video on it too, right? You did a video on the team up attacks, I believe.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you kind of give me your thoughts?
I thing is, right. And as I said in the video, I really like all this sort of speculation, all these
Mm-hmm.
concept arts and stuff like that, because it just shows that the community does have life in it, and
Yep.
not just people that want to cover it, but people that want to talk about things, little dream mock-ups and
Yep.
stuff like that. So I think that would be, and I like looking at these sort of things. Like, we're seeing all these concept arts for heroes and stuff they want to see implemented into just basic combat or takedowns. Even costume designs like the MCU skins we saw on Reddit and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's and the thing is, it's I know some people do it in a way where it's like, why isn't this in the game? And they'll show it. But like All Father Memes, for example, it's just adding stuff that they personally like to see, and it looks really good. Stuff like this might be taken into account because they've done it in a respectful way. So
Mm,
obviously commenting on on all of them, they all look great. I mentioned it in the video as well that I couldn't guess anyone's heroics, but obviously all these heroes I like in the game, right? Even if I'm not a fan of absolutely all of them, it's more heroes the better at the end of the day. So I
yeah.
think that just seeing someone take their time to do these things means that there is a lot of passion in the community. And I think that when the hype train goes up a little bit, and fingers crossed we get even more eyes and more people playing the game, we'll see even more of these, and
Yeah.
that's always a good thing because it gives Crystal Dynamics even more of a visual idea when people put this amount of effort into these concept pieces.
What it's funny. You mentioned that because if I remember correctly, I forget if it was Phil or the Crystal Dynamics Twitch account actually kind of acknowledged him in one of the streams this week. I think it was Friday's stream, and it's one of those things where it's like they do see a lot of this cool stuff, and like the cool stuff is like is what kind of grabs eyeballs in a lot of ways, right? Like they see
Yeah,
something like that and they're like, oh, like maybe it's something they can't implement right away, but it's something they take into account, and maybe it's something they throw on a whiteboard somewhere, and they're like, okay, let's kind of sit on this one and see what we can come up around it. But yeah, I mean, like ideally you want the community kind of in a like, and I've said this before, like you want the community in a collaboration effort, you know what I mean? Like you want the community to throw a bunch of ideas at the developers, even if you can't implement all of them. The idea is that like maybe there's bits and pieces that they can take and then implement in the game that way. So it is a collaboration between like the community as well as the, and you see it in a lot of games, right? Like where the community can come up with some cool stuff, and the developers go, oh, we didn't actually think about that. Let's actually take that, and maybe the core idea is what we need, but the bits and pieces around it isn't what we need. But they need that core idea, and they just go whoop, and they take it and they implement it in their own way. And
yeah,
for anyone who makes concept art or who comes up with hero ideas, heroic ideas, I mean, like that's kind of like a lot of the fun a lot of these people have, right? And like all the power to them, because like please continue to make it, like if you
yeah,
guys
for
got
sure.
cool shit, like show it to me, show it to Stardust, show it to anyone, because I think at that point, like to see more of it is kind of like the fun of it. When I look at some of these and it's like a Daredevil or a Ghost Rider, like for me Ghost Rider would be sick, like
Oh yeah, for sure.
implement a Ghost Rider, please. Like I would love to see Ghost Rider, right? Like but a Captain Marvel, like yeah. So I mean, like in general, in general speak, obviously keep those ideas flowing, post them, share them, do what you can. If we're talking just kind of the All Father memes and his work on them, like really well done, man. Like I look at some of this stuff and I'm like, I wish I had like a tenth of this talent. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any of this talent. I look at this and I'm like, okay, like me, like if I did this, my character's borders would be all jagged from me trying to like crop out like the background of some of these guys, and it would be a mess. It would be a mess. So no, kudos to you, All Father Memes. Love what you're doing. I see a lot of your stuff gets passed around Twitter, Reddit, and it seems like a lot of people are really on board with kind of what you're doing, man. So shout out to you. I did say no free clout, but I'm gonna break my rule. I'm gonna break my rule and say free clout for that. And shout outs to you for real. Um, okay, let's do a Q&A quickly. Let's do a Q&A.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
All right. Is there one that you want to do, or you want me to pick one?
I'll let you pick one.
Okay. Is it possible that you may be a secret developer? No, just kidding. We're not doing that one. I think a good question is, do you think leaking information for this game is better than what the devs are currently doing? And the reason I want to pick that one today, and this is all from Jazzy Butters 2 in the Assemble Podcast Discord. Feel free to join the descriptions down below. And if you guys have questions, obviously Stardust and I will do our best to work through them. But the reason I want to pick this question today is because of the information dump that just happened this week. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels
Yeah,
like this is a perfect time to talk about this one in particular, because ever since, before the game launch, it's been leaks, it's been this, it's been that, right? Like very backroom alley, kind of information being spread. And a lot of the time when they kind of officially talk about information, it's not really received well. Even if there's a secondhand meaning behind it, or it's a part two that we're waiting on. So what do you think about this before I get into my own kind of thoughts on it?
I think that sometimes the biggest issue with leaks and the biggest issue with anything like that is that you set an expectation to something that may not even come to pass, right?
Mm.
Like Black Panthers, for example, the Black Panther concept art, right?
Yeah.
You've put it out there, and again, I saw all this from Miller, so there's no point in me pretending I know any other leaker, right?
Sure.
So,
Well, and we
and when
and after this, actually, we could talk about leaks like the Black Panther and Spider-Man leak, just very quickly. But yeah, no, please,
Mhm,
I didn't mean to
yeah.
cut you off.
So the concept art and stuff, people were seeing it, they think it's way too much padded and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
when it comes out, it may be sleek and perfect. That might be a alternative outfit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We they might have mixed it up, and that's the thing. You've put it out there now, and people have this expectation. It's like when Miller a little while ago, like ages ago, posted the Iron Eye suit and had a fucking mustache. And it had
Oh,
like
I
no
remember that.
do you remember?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
awful, and people were like, "The shit is that?" And then when
Yeah.
they watched the war table, and they were like, "Oh, that looks really cool." Like, so
Yeah.
my point is that like I find it difficult to look at something like Miller's posted and even react to it. I like Miller, by the way. This isn't me being like, it's just the leaks. Um, being sort of something I want to get excited for, because one, it can change.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it might not even be that way. They might totally scrap it and go for something else. Because, say, for example, a Black Panther thing, there is no release date for Black Panther yet, so they can
Right.
obviously, change whatever they want within any time frame they want at the moment. Um, and three, I just get more excited when they show me it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm. Okay.
for example, Miller posted, the I don't know what it's called, the ray gun Iron Man suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that. I mean, it looked awful then, and it looked awful in the marketplace. But I think I would have probably like had I don't know how to. I don't know. I think I would have been more upset to have seen it in the marketplace on its own. So that's when I find leaks to be a good thing, because even though setting expectations can be a bad thing, in that regard, I was really happy that I didn't get extremely disappointed, if that makes sense, because I've seen it. So like I was ready for the day where they were going to act like this skin was the next coming of Jesus, even though it was
Mm.
disgusting. Like so
True. Okay. Fair.
there's a mixed bag. There's a mixed in the middle thing, and people were like, "Well, it gives hype." Yes, it does, but hype of what? Because we don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition. You know?
True. Well, let me play devil's advocate a little bit here, because I think when you deal with a licensed game like Marvel's Avengers, and you deal with like with a license holder and a publisher who are very anti-transparency in some ways, it almost feels like you need community members to keep the hype going, whether it's through leaks
Yeah.
or videos or whatever have you, right? Because when your publisher and your developer aren't really communicating a lot of the stuff, like you almost feel like it's like vigilante justice in a way. You know what I mean? Like someone has to take up reins and be like, okay, you guys don't want to talk about this stuff, I'll talk about it. You know what I mean? And to Miller's credit, I've seen a lot of people come up to him and say like, you're the reason I'm still excited for the game. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
no, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
like
and I know, like I said, I know you're not trying to slag him off or whatever. I'm just trying to paint the other side of that picture, right? Where it's like,
yeah, yeah.
a lot of the stuff may not actually come to fruition, right? I know he said on his stream that like he hopes he's scared that like they may fuck up his roadmap that he's put out, right? Like with this like crazy announcement, right? Like he's like,
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah.
if they blow up my roadmap like that, fuck, man, you know what I mean? And to his credit, like, but that roadmap has kept people hanging on,
Yeah.
for the opportunity that Crystal and Squared for even to announce something that can pull a lot of these people in. And you could talk about the downsides of leaking, and you talk about the bringing the false hope or the false hype. But in a lot of ways, I almost feel like Crystal and Square should be thanking a lot of the community, and Miller in particular, for keeping people hanging on. Like let's call a spade a spade. This game really hasn't kept a lot of the hype. You look at Twitch numbers, you look at YouTube numbers across the board. Like this game could have done a lot better, and ideally it grows, and you see exponential growth for everything across the board. But right now it's the community keeping it alive in a certain sense. Like it's the community kind of feeding into each other, hype this, hype that, talk this, talk that. And I don't think leaking is ever bad, unless it's like, leaking something totally crazy. Like, we're not going to dox somebody, right? But like, if you're just leaking details of the game, I mean, Fortnite has like one of the biggest leaker communities, right? Like, I see those leaks
Yeah.
on Twitter, and like those guys just get thousands of interactions for that, like thousands of engagements. You know what I mean? Like, and Epic seemingly, they try to block them out, but like, it's always a cat and mouse game at that point. But I think leaking is okay. I think people should understand with leaking, like Stardust saying, not everything is guaranteed. It is what it is. Like, you see something and plans change, and unfortunately, you don't have a lot of the context behind the files. And I say files, and Miller may hate me for saying files, but you don't see a lot of the context for the data within what they're seeing, right? You just kind of see what they're seeing, and based on kind of the structure and everything, you kind of piece together a lot of the information and kind of the narrative of like how things flow into each other. But I think at this point, when your game is radio silent on a lot of fronts, it is almost like the community needs someone to step up and be like, you know what, like, you guys want some hope? Here's some hope. Here's what I'm seeing. And maybe there comes a point in time where, Crystal and Square are more open and transparent, and with Marvel Games kind of stepping away and being like, you guys want to talk? Like, go talk, fine, do it. And maybe at that point you don't need a leaker. You don't need someone that does it. But I think for the first 6 months, without Miller, what do a lot of us talk about?
Well, here's the thing as well, is that I've made that point, but I'm also not going to pretend that I'm not on the fence, that every time, because I have notifications on for Miller. Like, I straight up, like, and when he posted the the roadmap, the new one, and I saw Spider-Man come in second and everything, I was like, Miller, have you got any Spider-Man leaks? And he was like, he found like the emotes and stuff. I was like, yes, like, you know what I mean? And like, I fall like, not victim, but I'll fall into that whole hype train as well.
Sure, yeah.
So obviously, and my point is that there is a middle ground, because yes, there's the whole like, oh, can't be too hopeful and stuff. There is the downer way to look at it, but then at first glance, there is also the thing of like, yes, I got this, or this is coming. I'm super excited. I mean, if it wasn't for Miller, we wouldn't know about the raid. We wouldn't know about stuff like that, and it's all that has kept people, coming
engaged.
Back. Engaged. So it's absolutely, and by the way, credit to Miller. Like, he obviously starting off as like this leaker that appeared out of nowhere, has now became his own personality in the community. He does these streams. He's a much more confident person. I said to him the other day when I was talking, that when he was on this podcast, well, not this one, but you know what I mean, like your show,
the channel,
he he seemed so shy. Like, I thought he was going to be, and no disrespect, I thought he was going to be like a 17-year-old emo kid with long hair coming to the floor. Like, I no clue he was going to be the way he actually is now, which is someone who is a lot more sure of themselves in a good way, now. And it's kind of been an awesome thing to see the like you said, the vigilante justice kind of pay off for him, rather than people say like, oh, shut up, what the fuck you're talking about, because he does, he's seen it with his eyes, and if these things don't take place, I don't mean it in a sense of it's bad for Miller to put these things out. I just mean that people who take every leak
as like gospel,
word, as gospel, then that's when you're screwing yourself over. And I think that a lot of the times when Miller ever receives hate or whatever, is because a lot of people have unrealistic expectations about exactly what Miller can get. You know what I mean? He can get stuff from the data, but he can't sit in the boardroom meeting and tell you what their thought process is.
Right?
He can only give you his thoughts, which it just and obviously people are hungry for information, and Miller does his best to give it, but with all this information coming recently, all Miller can really do now is just sprinkle a little bit of stuff whenever he can, and he does a good job of that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, maybe there comes a point in time where the transparency is so transparent you don't need a leaker. But I mean, at this point in time, it is what it is. And in the past we needed someone, and if they've taken steps to kind of limit what Miller or Eddie to that point can get, maybe they'll kind of be more transparent themselves, right? And that's always the hope and dream, right? You never really want the community to take up arms to kind of find these things themselves, right? You always kind of want a steady flow of information, right? Things given to you, things said, this and that, right? um and maybe, post 18th, right? I'm saying a roadmap's coming the 18th, and maybe once the roadmap is out there, maybe they can start talking more about this and that, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, like, there's so much up in the air. I mean, like, who really knows, right? Like, I mean, that's going to be the conversation for the next few days, right? Is what does the 18th have in store, and who honestly can sit here and say they know? I keep saying
I mean,
but like,
yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
oh, okay, good, good, good,
I
good.
know. I know.
Okay, so let's jump to our last topic of the day. Speaking of the 18th, Stardust, I know you've announced some more stuff to do with Assemble for Charity. So why don't you bless us all with some more information? And in all seriousness, man, please, like, I know you've made some announcements, but please, like, let it all spill.
Right. So, for people who may not know, Assemble for Charity is basically the name of an event that is happening on March 18th at reset time. And it's going to be on the one stream, and it's going to have myself, it's going to have Sonic Photo, it's going to have Miller, which got added recently after Dale had to back out. We've got Suki, we've got High Ruler, we've got Dad Panther, and we've got King Greek. And we're basically, the idea is, for example, the schedule here is, I'll start 3 hours, then another streamer, then 3 hours, then another streamer, so on, until we get to the following day. So that'll be going on for 24 hours, and the idea is raising as much money for cancer fund for children as possible. We have a giveaway for it, where if you show as much love in the chat as possible, I can send you a large T-shirt of the charity with a cute little pin and a pamphlet of information about their charity, just so you can spread awareness and stuff like that. And we've received so much love out of nowhere. Greg Miller,
Yes,
of
yes.
Kind of Funny, has given his given his blessing. He'll advertise the event, and when he's finished streaming, so because he's co-hosting the he's like live reacting to the Square Enix event, he's going to be sending all those people to us.
It's crazy.
So
That's crazy.
So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, this is
Yeah.
and this is, and I was saying to Sonic, who is second on the schedule, I was like, you know what, Sonic? What if I just bumped you first? What if I just, because I'm like, it's because obviously he's very new to streaming in a sense. He's not new to content creation, obviously, but he's very new to streaming. So
Yeah.
I think this would be interesting. But yeah, no, it's just one of those. It's one of those insane things that when I'm watching it going on, I think that this is fake, right? Even though I'm the one here typing out all the information. Like I said it before when I released the schedule for it. I posted on like my own account, and I'm like, I can't believe I just pressed like send on that. It's unreal, the amount of love and support that this has gotten. Like at the moment, just quickly to go on to the fundraising page, we've already raised £124.
Yeah.
And the goal is £500. And obviously, Cancer Fund for Children, they know of the event. I've had emails and stuff like that, so that they're fully on support. I think it might help if I read the story tab on here.
Yeah,
maybe,
please, yeah, go for it. Yeah, totally.
So I'll read it out. So, hey, I'm Stardust, or known personally as Thomas Parsons. I recently hit 100 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and I promised to do a 24-hour live stream for the milestone. However, I thought to do the most good with this opportunity and help children and their families who are impacted by cancer. I lost my uncle this year to cancer and my nan to cancer too, and seeing how that's impacted my mother has given me motivation to do what I can to give as much love and support to children going through struggles. Please take some time to donate or share this page around. Now, I want to point out that story I wrote was when this was originally supposed to be just a me thing. You know what I mean? So like, obviously it makes it sound like I'm very much like, oh, I'm the only one. It's not. It's a group effort, team effort. But obviously in that regard, that's my the story here. But for people who are worried about giving to on the Just Giving page, I want to read this out. Donating through Just Giving is simple, fast, and totally secure. Your details are safe with them. They'll never sell them or send unwanted emails. Once you donate, they'll send your money directly to the charity. So it's nothing. I don't get the money and I give it to them or anything like that. It goes directly to them. As soon as the donation, the page is deleted, all the money that's from there will go straight to them. So there is no worries about any like dodginess,
handling of the money or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there won't be any like bills going missing or anything like that. So
right. Okay, cool. Anything else? Anything you want to cover about it, or is that kind of the kid and caboodle of it?
The only thing that I've been thinking about now, and I kind of want to see what people say in the comments, is would you like to see the stream open with the Square Enix live reaction where I'll try because it's my time slot, but I can try and get a load of people in the Discord as much as I can, and we'll all just have a group chat about it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and
cool.
obviously, we'll spend the first like maybe 3 hours just chatting our shit, or whoever can get involved, basically.
Yeah.
And then, we'll live react to it together, and then obviously then Sonic can be the first gameplay stream because obviously Clint and stuff. It seems kind of perfect for him.
That's an interesting way.
Yeah, so, but obviously, if you guys would rather just pure gameplay, then the idea was that I'll start off featuring Perfect. So obviously, just give any feedback you can down below, and that will be amazing. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So with that being said, guys, I think we're just about wrapped up for this episode. Stardust, is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap this one up? Number 5. I think it's number 5. It's number 5. We'll say it's number 5.
Thank you for having me. This started off as literally like a mini interaction on Twitter where I was basically trying to force you into a position to have me as co-host. And now I've been here for 5 of these things.
I know it's the worst mistake I've ever made. Trust me.
It's been way too long, man. I can't remember the last time I felt free on Saturdays.
I actually
Sundays.
Sundays. I actually feel like after every one of these I age about 20 years. So I probably only have like 1 or 2 left.
Yeah, thanks, man.
No problem, dude. No problem. I'm happy to do that. Obviously, is there anything else you want to shout out? Obviously, you kind of did all the assemble for charities or any like. Do you want to show your own personal stuff out again, or what do you want to do? You know what, dude? The floor is yours. The stage is yours.
Well, for anyone who's been watching my streams lately will know that I'm Hollywood now. So I don't really need to advertise my stuff anymore, mate. So I'll just the charity is the main thing, boys. So justgiving.com/fundraising/Avengers Assemble Against Cancer. You get all the information there. You can see the Twitch in the let me just make sure I know what this is. Updates and the Twitter as well at A for Charity. You can read the story and stuff, which I'm going to edit to better reflect the team effort going in here because it makes it sound like I'm very self-absorbed after reading it Hollywood out the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you guys can share any love, then that would be amazing. Of course, if you want to see the charity as well, Cancer Fund for Children. Cancer Fund for Children provides practical and emotional support to local children and their families impacted by cancer. Our specialist team provides support at home, in the community, and on the hospital ward. We also offer free therapeutic short breaks at the Daisy Lodge in Newcastle. Newcastle is a place in the UK, in case you guys don't know, and you think it's like an actual castle, which would be kind of cool. But sadly not.
I thought the UK was a myth. I didn't know it existed.
I'm just floating in orbit. I'm not even in a place. I'm just floating in the air. When they say watch the skies, they mean every single Brit is about to finally fall from like the moon.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Crumpets!
I hate it so much. You have no idea.
Britannia as we're falling down.
I thought we got rid of colonialism. I thought we're done with this.
Sorry, bro.
Okay, apparently not.
We
Apparently not.
we never
Never stopped.
we never stop.
Never stopped. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. God save the queen and all that.
Yeah.
I think with that being said, on my end, Stardust, did I cut you off? Did you want to finish anything?
No. I was
Oh
laughing
no.
at the I was
Okay.
laughing at the
Okay.
Queen thing.
Okay. Yeah. God save the queen, everybody. I think at the end of this, guys, obviously, stay tuned. I mean, I think every content creator is gonna have a lot of stuff coming out this week. For myself personally, Marvel Monday tomorrow. I am gonna be live. No sickness, no bullshit. I will be live tomorrow, 7 p.m. You guys can follow my Twitter at AssembleCast. You can subscribe to this to be notified of any sort of crazy shenanigan videos that I do. I'll be live on Thursday as well. I'm gonna try and be live for as long as I can on Thursday, between videos and everything. It's gonna be a fun day Thursday. If you're not excited about Thursday, get excited about Thursday. There's just, I have a feeling, and I have a feeling deep in my gut that Thursday is gonna be what we're all looking for. So.
Let
Would
it
that
be
be?
known that High Roller has always been great at predictions, guys. Just remember, yeah. So
You know,
just remember, guys. He had a feeling about Infamous Iron Man. I'm just, oh, I'm just saying, everyone. Sorry, High
no,
Roller.
that's
You were
fine.
finished?
Yeah, no. I was trying to do my outro there. Yeah. With that being said, guys, I will be looking for a new co-host. If you guys are interested, drop by the Discord, or you can ping me on Twitter and send me some voice clips, send me some videos, and we'll see what you're made of. Nice
Jeez, I
people
didn't have
only.
to put that much effort in.
Nice people. Yeah, and look what I got. So with that being said, guys, that's it for episode number 5. We'll see you guys next weekend. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time. Later.
Bye.